I grew up on the ocean when I was a kid. So I like to adventure, I like to explore new things, and to me, being on the cutting edge of science and combining science and conservation and animals in some way that help people, to me is really the important thing. Hi, I'm Mary Hagedorn. I work at the Smithsonian Institution, at the Smithsonian Conservation Biology Institute, and I'm a marine biologist. I use human fertility techniques to try and save coral. It's important because it's one of the first ecosystems on our planet that may be wiped out by our actions. Basically, the idea is to try and conserve our reef resources in a frozen repository where they're frozen but alive for the future. The coral ecosystems provides an enormous amount of ecosystem services. They're homes to millions of animals. They are a pharmacopoeia of new potential drugs. They protect our houses and our homes and our cities. I was personally very happy to be living near a coral reef a couple months ago when we had a tsunami in Hawaii. But the coral reefs only take up about 0.2% of the world's landmass. They have an extraordinary impact on our world's ecosystem, even though they're quite small. But it's possible within the next 50 years that we may lose all the reefs in our ocean. What we're doing here at the Smithsonian, and we're one of the few places in the world that's doing it, is we're trying to come up with the worst case scenario, but hope for the best in all of this, is to try and project ourselves 50 and 100 years in the future to try and figure out what we would need to do to protect our resources on the reef. What if they were to all die? How can we reseed our reefs in the ocean, and what can we do? And trying to, to stock these where they will remain in stasis. And then the hope is that we could, in some way, reseed the ocean with some of these stocks. Right now, my laboratory, as I said, is the only one, and I'm really the only researcher that's doing this, so we don't have nearly the resources to do this, and we're not working nearly fast enough. People are helping. We have Seacor, we have a lot of collaborators, but it would be great to have an army of postdocs that could help and to train people, because we cannot freeze the whole ocean ourselves. In many ways, people think of Smithsonian as, the country's attic, but that's really not a complete description of what we do. We are the organization in the United States that can think long term. We can project ourselves in the future because we have longevity in our studies. It is our responsibility to be thinking long term and to be thinking about conservation in a way that perhaps universities cannot. That's why our collections are so important. But I do think it's up to people of means who do think long-term, like the Smithsonian does, to help us, and to say, yes, this is important, and we will support it. The cryopreserved collections will be probably one of the more important ways of collecting in the next century for the Smithsonian.